Hello everyone. Welcome back to the second part of the visualization of coronavirus data. This is the dashboard we will be targeting at the end of this session. This is a dynamic chart which you are floating on the internet today. Earlier we saw how to create a static chart. Please click on the link above to check part 1. Now let's proceed from there. So this is the static map that we had created in our previous video. This is just for an understanding and this is not actually going to be used on the dashboard. From here, we'll start to see how we can create the dynamic map that we are seeing across the web today. So before we go ahead, let's create an hierarchy. In this map, we didn't need any hierarchy, but let's go ahead and create an hierarchy for the location. So let me move the state into the country. So the moment I do it, it says create an hierarchy. Let's name it as geography. And then I'll also move the city into the geography. So now our hierarchy is created. I'm just going to duplicate this map. So the moment we duplicate, we get all our data here. So first thing is to move the number of confirmed cases into the size. So the moment I move the number of confirmed cases into the size, I get a bubble for each of the wherever the number of confirmed. So that's the first thing that we are doing. And then let's also increase the size to a bit bigger one. And then let's move the number country into detail. And let's also do one level down, like at the state level, because in some of the countries we are having the data at the state level, like the United States and China. But for the other countries, the data is only at a country level, but still we'll go at the state level here so we can see a better visualization. And let's also see now, right now we don't see any name for the country. So let's change the look and feel of this map. Let's go into the sheet view. So this is the first step that we need to do. And then now I'm going to take a moment here to explain how the dynamic map works. So what happened earlier is we had filtered on a particular date, that is the last date. Now let's take off the date. Dynamic map works is like it acts like we are going to filter the data for each of the day. So we are going to make Tableau say that each of the date is like a page. So what we are going to do is we are going to pull the date into the pages. So what happens is every date, and we are going to say, okay, I want it at a date level. I want to say every date is going to be a page. So automatically for every day, we are going to have a visualization that's going to come. So if you see on the right, you can see an animation screen that's coming here. So which says like for each date. So for on 28th, 22nd, what is the data? For on 8th, what is the data? So we can do this, but we want to do it like an animation instead of just going and doing for selecting for a particular date. So for that, we have just an animation button here. So once the moment we do that, we can create an animation for the whole set of dates. So for the whole date range. So if you can see, you can see the date keeps on going automatically. We can also increase the speed of this. So this is how the animation works. So I've told you how it all works. So let's go and see what happens. Let's go and tweak the colors a little bit. So if you see, even let's say I'm going to take for 19th. There are some of the states which do not have any data for on 19th, but still we see a little bit of color here. So let's go and change the color into something like, it's like a workaround which we're going to do for the color. So we see only like when there is a data, we will see the red color, or when there is no data, we are not going to see any color. So I'm just going to go to the colors, and instead of red gold, I'm just going to do a custom diverging of two colors. So it's like a workaround that we are doing here. So I'm just going to say, okay, I'm just going to do a pale green, which kind of matches with the color of the map. That's going to be the first color, and the second color is going to be just red. And I'm going to give the center as 1. So if the data is more than 1, then it's going to give me a red color, and if the data is less than 1, then it's just going to be giving me the pale green color. So this is just a workaround that we are going to do. And then after we do this, so now we do not see the colors here so prominently. And now let's just go to the slideshow view and just click on that. So the moment we do that, we can see how the populated for each of the days. Automatically the dates are getting changed here. So what happens here is basically each of the dates is considered as a page by tableau, and we are moving across each of the dates. It's like a filter that's happening for each of the dates. So this is the dynamic map that we had created. So let's go ahead and first change the name of the tab to worldwide drift. Let's also change the header. And let's add the page number. Let's change the font and the color. So this is the first thing that we do. So the moment we change the page number, you can see for a part what the date coming here. So the moment I do an animation, this date is going to automatically change. It is going to give a good idea of what's happening. So that's why we changed it. Now let's go into see here. The values are like we see China of cases, and we all know that, but then even the other countries are also having more and more cases as the days go by. Say for example, in United States as of today there's more than 7,000 hard cases, but if you see the map, this is not going to be shown that clear because the number of cases at the US is at a state level, and US is a very big country, so we are not able to see the actual effect of it. Say for example, here in New York there's 2,495 cases, but we just seeing a small dot which doesn't give a good idea. So here I want to do create one more element on my dashboard just for the United States to give show the data more prominently there. So how do we go about it? So let's create one. It's pretty easy. We're just going to duplicate this map and call this as the US drift and change the name here also. So we just have to pull in the country into the filters and filter it for US. Say none and search for United States. So the moment we do that, we get the data for United States alone. I just want to make the size a bit bigger so we can see the prominence of the data. Let's see if we can zoom in a bit. Problem. So let's the color legends and see what's happening. So what happened here now is like if you see when we had the whole world map, the color legend moved from 0 to the maximum number of data that was in the whole world. That's like, so basically China had like around 67,000 cases, and so it moved from 0 to 67,000. But now when we have taken a smaller portion, so it is going to take it is automatically going to take the color legend for this particular area, which is around like 2,495. So that's how this map has automatically taken it. This gives a better picture of how the data is in United States. And let's do a quick slideshow. So I'm just going to start it from 5th or something like that, because that's when the number of cases started coming up a lot. And let's do a fast. So now we can see how the number of cases has increased exponentially over every day in United States. So the next set of data that we are going to, so this is done. So this is going to be one element of our dashboard. The next set of data is going to come from the Twitter data set. So if you have seen the earlier videos, you know like how the Twitter data set has been extracted. So we are going to use that data for our next set of visualization. So this is the data set that has come from Twitter. If you see the earlier videos, you will understand how to get this data. So this has like basic stuff like what is the tweet, what kind of a tweet, and what is the location, what is the user attribute, user who's given the message. And we also have, so we have cleaned the location to make it as into country. but we may have some places where it's like where the user has not specified the country, which is really blank, so we just can't do anything about it, because if you're going to match between this data set and our John Hopkins said the country is the only common element, so we may have to filter out these kind of values. So we saw the Twitter data set. We will see how we are going to import it into Tableau and create visualization from there. So first, let's create a new worksheet, and then let's go into data and create a new data source, and then select the tweets file which we saw. And the moment we select, we get all the data here. Let's so we'll have to intimate Tableau that the field names are on the first row, so it takes the first row as the field names. Now let's go back into the sheet, and then now I will add the tweets as my rows. And then let me add the, so at this point in time, if you see, there is no link between the tweets data set and the coronavirus data set that we have. The moment I add the country into the detail, if you go into this, we can see that the country between the coronavirus data and the tweets are being linked. So Tableau automatically, these two data are like the common data that has to be linked. And this is very useful when we need to do like advanced filters. So in case this happens only if the names are exactly the same. What if the names are not same? Then still we can go into data and edit blend relationships, and we can go and say a custom, and we can choose what is the we can add and say like what is the particular column that needs to be linked. So we are done with this, and now let's increase the do the formatting, and let's Twitter movement or Twitter trend. And let's insert the country name, and let's also format the format like our other data, other charts that we did earlier. We are also formatting the header in the same way. And let's increase the size, and let's also add the country as a filter, and we just remove the null, because some of the Twitter data has null values. And so we have just to change the color, I'm just going to give it as a different format, so that we just get only the text data here, like what is the comments that we have received from the users. So this will be our third element into our dashboard. The next data source that we are going to use is from the web scraping data. If you have not checked how to get the web scraping data, please check on the link above to see how to get the this data set. Now let's go and create our visualization. First, let's start a new worksheet, and then let's go into data, new data source, and then let's create on a text file, and then choose the web scraping text file. Let's also tell Tableau that the field row, so we get the date the first row as the field names. And if you see the data here, there is no common link between this data and any of the other two data sources. Like there's no country or anything that we could link between this and the other two data sources. So this is going to be more like a standalone data source. Let's see what we can do with this data source and show it in the dashboard. Let's go back to the sheet. So the website is nothing but the name of the news channel. Let's change it. It's kind of confusing. Let's move this into the color. And the number of records that you see here under the measure is like an automatic one that's been created. So what happens is when we include this, it will show us the number of records at the granularity of the dimension. So for example, now channel has like 30 different headlines for CNBC, then we are going to see 30 as the number of records. So let's move this into the size. And let's also change the kind of chart into, say, a pack bubble. So the moment I do it, I get three different sizes. So it says like NBC has had more number of headlines with respect to coronavirus, and then we also have the news from CNBC has 8 and CNN has 8. So now let's move the headline into the label, and let's take the news channel name out of the label, because we already have it in our legend, which is on the right. So let's remove that. So this is like what we want to get. So this is like a standalone thing, but then it gives us an idea of like what news channels have covered about coronavirus so much and things like that. So this is going to be our fourth element into our dashboard. So let's name it. So it's in sync with the previous charts. Let's keep it in sync. So when we include it in the dashboard, it's going to look in sync. So I think we should actually change the colors too. Let's go ahead and edit colors. Let me go into hue, which gives like a more different colors. So let's say CNBC, CNN, NBC, just for the look and feel how we want it. So we are done with the next chart. This is like basically a standalone chart, but I think this gives an idea of how we can import data from different data sources and create a dashboard in Tableau. We have created all the required elements that we want in our dashboard. So now it's just going to be the dashboard, probably what we are all looking forward to. So when we have the dashboard here, and we're going to include all the required sheets. So let's add the worldwide drift, and then the US drift. The US drift, the Twitter trend, I think let's remove this off. And then let's move this as a floating one, so we get more space. And then let's add the trending news. Let's move this into the let's change this container. Let's get it here. Let's also show the dashboard title, and there it is. Coronavirus timeline across the web. Let's keep it in the middle. So I just modified the size here so we can get a better view of the dashboard. So these are all the different elements that we had added. So now, if you remember, we had the coronavirus data set and also the Twitter data set, which had a common element called as the country. So how are we going to use that to see? So say for example, how are we going to use it in the dashboard? So let's say if I want to do China, I want to see only the Twitter movement for China. If I say US, I want to see only the Twitter movement for US. So it's pretty simple. I just go here and say use as a filter. So that means it will select whichever country I'm selecting here as a filter for the Twitter for my next chart element in the dashboard. So if I say China, it will give only for China. If I say US, it will give for US, and if I say India, it will give only for India. So this is how we go about it. So the next thing is, so we are almost done, and we also have the news data here, and we can scroll down and see what is the news that's coming from different channels. So on coronavirus, and then now let's go into the presentation mode and see how to go about it. So let's see, so this is the slide show view, like the presentation mode. Let's see how the data has progressed over a period of time. So this is the coronavirus timeline across the web. And let's start the animation. If you see, I've given it as fast mode. So if you see, the number of cases in China is like increasing in the first, and then once we hit March, like you can see the total number of cases come much in the US and also in the other countries like Italy and all the European. So this is like a basic chart, like with animations that we have seen. I hope this tutorial would have been helpful for you. Thank you.